Good. Thanks everybody for joining us, and I will call the a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order for Thursday, August the 11th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Meyer, can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Simmons.
Present.
Commissioner Gladney.
Present.
Commissioner Beach.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Galladay. Commissioner Pistello.
Present.
Commissioner Cox.
Here.
Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Windmiller.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Fine, thank you, Myra. Under item 3, contract award, Metrolink Station Secure Platform Design Services, resolution number 1219. Mr. Roach, you want to lead this discussion off?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Chair Simmons. I want to thank everybody for their patience with this complex package. I have talked to just about, well, every single commissioner about this, and I encourage you to contact me directly if there's any specific questions in a contract of this complexity and how important it is to us as an agency, and I think you're going to hear a little bit about that shortly. The majority of the presentation will be headed off by Kevin Scott, our project manager, and of course, but before that, Mr. Curran will give you a quick briefing from the procurement standpoint. But let me just stress to you, these are difficult decisions and obviously complex issues. What I really do appreciate is the time and energy you've put into this, including the hard questions. We're here to listen to all of those. This will change how we do transit in St. Louis. I think this is a big step for the agency, and I really appreciate your time and attention. So from that, I will move to Mr. Curran. Mr. Curran, can you start us off?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I'm presenting for your consideration a request to authorize a contract with Hntb for professional engineering services for the design of the Metrolink Secure Platform Plan. The Secure Platform Plan will create highly secure customer entrances on our light rail system and enhance security through access control and closed circuit camera monitoring to complement our security personnel. On May 5th of this year, the Safety and Security Committee approved the solicitation of proposals from qualified engineering firms for the final design of security barrier gates, fencing, and camera installation. Hntb was the only respondent to this publicly advertised solicitation. Hntb's proposal was reviewed by an evaluation team consisting of staff from Bi-State's engineering and safety departments and scored according to the technical evaluation criteria specified in the solicitation package. The evaluation confirmed that the Hntb proposal met the requirements, qualifications, and experience requested in the RFP. The contracting officer did conduct a survey of other potential sources that chose not to submit a proposal, and those responses are included in your briefing paper. One of the 4 respondents decided to team up with Hntb rather than to pursue the entire project independently. Another firm was unsuccessful finding a team partner, and 2 other engineering firms felt that the requested scope of services was outside their normal design experience. I'm going to share my screen now for a comparison of cost. Bear with me for just one moment. Hntb's initial cost proposal significantly exceeded the independent cost estimate. Through 3 separate negotiations with Hntb, costs were reduced in terms of overhead burden, fixed fees, and labor hours for Hntb and its 5 sub-consultants. This comparison of the original cost proposal and the negotiated final fee is included in your packet. Through negotiation, we were able to reduce the proposed price by over $1 million. Hntb's team proposal includes 14.4% DBE participation. Funding for this contract will be provided by both private sector and local funds. Management is recommending that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Hntb for secure platform plan design services in the not to exceed amount of $6,948,587.09. Kevin Scott, the project leader for the Secure Platform Plan, will now present additional details on the HNTB proposal, Bi-State's history with HNTB, and our negotiations. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Kern. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning to everybody. Mr. Chairman, if you will indulge me for a few minutes, I have a number of things that I would like to get through. I know that the packet that we supplied to the commissioners was extensive with a lot of information, but there are some things that I'd like to highlight. Earlier this year, when Mr. Roach appointed me as the project manager and I appeared in front of the Safety and Security Committee, I overwhelmingly heard a desire to move forward with this project. I felt very strongly that our board understood the magnitude and the impact of what we are trying to do here. We all know that major elements of our region, stakeholders, have been calling for this move for quite some time. We're on the doorstep of getting this done, and I promised you that I would move this forward. And we are back today in front of the board when we said we would be back. Our team, first and foremost, I would like to thank all of our internal bi-state team members and as well as the HNTB staff. We've worked very diligent and exhaustively to get this proposal done so that we could come back here. This completely changes the dynamic of transit in St. Louis. And it is so important that there are multiple properties across the United States and even interest in Canada on what we're doing here. People are watching for the first time in a long time. We are leading in the industry. As the St. Louis Metro Transit System, as bi-state development, we can stand proud and say, we are venturing into basically uncharted waters and we're going to get this done. And you have my assurance on that, but I need your help today. I need your support so that I can move this along. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about HNTB. Of course, they are a very large engineering firm with a transit or a transportation specific focus. They're based in the United States in Kansas City, Missouri, and they are involved in 79 different markets across the United States, as well as an office in Canada. And one of the major expertise that they provide is transit and rail planning, design and construction of public transportation facilities for all modes. So what I'd like to do before I talk about how they've impacted Metro Transit in St. Louis in the past is give you an idea of some of the projects that they've worked on and completed. They were involved in the Lynx Blue Line extension. This is in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Charlotte area transit system was the client, and that was a double track extension which they completed, designed and completed. They were also involved in Kansas City with KCATA, the East Village Transit Center, which is also the build out of the new BRT line there in Kansas City, Bus Rapid Transit. Goal Line BRT development they were involved with in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, and a twin bore tunneling project in Washington, in Seattle, Washington. Sound Transit was the customer there. And then of course in San Francisco, Bay Area Rapid Transit, they developed and designed the Warm Springs extension. They have extensive transit development experience, and they bring an enormous amount of comfort to the table. Their engineering team that we are going to propose to you is extremely talented, and they've done this work before. So when we talk about the procurement process and we talk about the fact that we only had one bidder, ladies and gentlemen, we had the right bidder. They have a history with Metro on our system and have impacted us very positively with their participation with past work here. They know our systems well. Just to give you some idea of how our team will be structured with HNTB, Mark Grossenbacher from the St. Louis office will be the overall project manager from HNTB's perspective, and he will be assisted by HNTB engineer Selena Sire. and she'll be supporting as the Deputy PM of Systems, and has worked on MetroLink Communications on-call projects, as well as the MetroLink Cortex station. And lastly, John Pisa, engineer from HNTB, will be supporting as a Deputy Project Manager for Station Design. John is an experienced transit architect with significant design experiences at existing stations. And we are, in fact, Commissioners, taking a system already in place, and we are reconfiguring 38 locations. Quite frankly, this is umbrellaed under one project, but I have to stress to you, these are 38 different projects. All of these locations are different. Some will be very easy, some will be very challenging. And I ask you to keep that in mind as we continue to traverse this conversation today for your consideration. I also want to go into, and Mr. Curran did mention that there are some partner participations with HNTB on this endeavor. These are all local firms, and I would just like to go through these at a very high altitude just for the record. Kier Enterprises will provide architectural integration of the fare collection system, fencing, and other overall aspects of the project in support of HNTB. ABNA Engineering Incorporated will provide topographic surveying services as the project requires. Custom Engineering Incorporated will provide electrical engineering and design services in support of HNTB. Cavindio Engineering Services will provide utility coordination services. And lastly, Code Consultants Incorporated will provide code compliance, fire protection, life safety, and accessibility, and will work hand in hand with our safety department to ensure overall compliance. When we talk about HNTB's history with bi-state development and Metro Transit, they recently completed a 5-year general engineering contractor on our comm side, our communication side. And I believe that that contract has been renewed. Past experience with HNTB on various projects such as Cortex, Fairview Heights, Pocket Track, and Metro Cross County extensions. HNTB is currently working on upgrades that will impact the secure platform project that include communications interface with cabinets, SCADA, and CCTV upgrades. Conduit connection points will also be needed and being worked on by HNTB in support of turnstile connectivity. Now, I know that Mr. Curran gave an overview, an illustration of how the proposal came in, at what price level, and how our team worked with HNTB to lower that price. I want to tell you that the HNTB team was very receptive and met with us on demand. We provided an outlay of concerns with the initial proposal in specific areas that we've highlighted on the separate document in your packet. They were very open to negotiations and discussions about how we could make this fall more in line with what our expectations are and what we believe our needs are. I will tell you going forward, and I will not deny that this is a very, very complicated endeavor. This is not going to be easy. It is going to be very challenging. And we have been pushing both the internal bi-state teams and now the HNTB teams to meet these required specifications. I just want to reiterate to you, as we discuss more about the procurement process, I'm certain that you have questions. The one bidder is the right bidder. And I sit in front of you today telling you I have full confidence in the experience and the talent that HNTB, in coordination with our own engineering staff here at Bi-State Development, brings to the table. And I'm seeking your approval to continue moving this project forward. The region expects results, and I intend to provide those results along with my team. And we want to thank you for consideration in this matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that detailed briefing. And just before I ask if there's any questions from the commissioners, I want to thank you and Tom and Mr. Roach for your due diligence on this project. As you know, we've been burning the phones back and forth, and I know there's going to be some questions come from the other commissioners. So I want to hold my comments until after I hear from them. So At this time, is any of the commissioners have any questions for Mr. Scott?
Mine's, I'm just guessing, or I'm not guessing, I'm assuming, just making sure I'm on the correct page here. This is that 6 million something figure, almost $7 million. That's for the engineering cost, correct? That's not for like all the cost of materials and stuff. That's just for the engineering firm?
That is correct, Commissioner. That is not included in the $52 million projection for implementation.
What was the original, because I appreciate Talby calling me yesterday and talking to me about this. What was the original thought or plan that the cost? What did we think that was going to be in the range of?
If you don't mind, I'll
Originally.
defer to Mr. Roach or our engineering team on this question. They have more details on that.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So the original cost we had pegged in an internal measurement of $4.2 million. So obviously there's a pretty significant gap there. Part of when we have an individual single bid like this, multiple meetings are held in order to look at and kind of take the layers off a very complex design like this one. And what I did was try to review not only the results of those meetings, of which I believe there was 5, and it is contained in your packet detailing those. What were the nature of those, and are we building a team that still can get this done? And what I heard from Mr. Scott, from Mr. Curran, indeed also our engineering talent from Tim Nittler, that there were some insights that the Hntb team brought to the table as far as the detail of this very complex design that noted a reasonable negotiation. So we made some adjustments. I do want to stress, to be fair to our engineering team, nothing like this has been done before. So there are layers of complexity that I think added into the scope, and then justified moving our estimate up and recommending this contract. I can get a more technical answer from Mr. Nittler if you care to, but I want to just pause right there.
Yeah, I was just curious. And again, thank you for all the work and staying on time with this and following through, Kevin. So I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see this move forward.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate the comments. Anybody else have any questions for the team?
I do quickly if no one else does. I guess this might be more for Talby or Tom. I'm supportive of this, but I am curious about our own, internal estimate process now after seeing this. Do you foresee there being potentially a reason to go back and sort of reassess our estimates for the other costs associated with this project? This is the first big one, and this came in over budget. Even after good negotiating, it's still a little over what we initially projected. Do you think that there is potentially reason to go back and look at some of those other assumptions that were made to see if we're going to have this potentially occurring in other areas of the project as well?
Yes, I do. Quite simply, we should always be looking at what are the current market conditions and what are happening within the construction and in the engineering market as far as the availability of qualified firms and where we're moving as far as that market dynamic is happening. I am confident about the estimate that we have put forward on the capital side, the $52 million. I think that was well suited. That number is not particularly old, but it is true that we have a pretty dynamic construction situation, and I think that has something to do with this. The other being that this was a very highly complex process, and one of the good things about this firm that I think Mr. Scott pointed out is they have detailed knowledge of some of our systems, and as a matter of fact, some of that engineering talent, in particular, Selena, are very talented individuals who helped us look at things in a new way here at Metro Transit, and add talent where we can really look at things in a new way and hopefully achieve some achieve really some savings with design as we move to the future. But we will readdress how we estimate these costs. It is a moving market. That is the reality here. And I'll ask the engineering team to try to look at this and do a little bit of self-critique on their estimating abilities. Okay?
If I could weigh in on this particular point, first of all, I'm glad that it looks like we've got a firm in which we have great confidence, and I'm appreciative that we're all trying to weigh being responsible stewards of resources and cost sensitive versus being expedient in terms of trying to get this done. I think we want this done. I think the public wants it done. I think those who are providing money in this public-private partnership want it done. In terms of estimates, what we're finding here at the university, and we just did it in a project yesterday, is that the pent-up demand now with supply chain issues and the environment in which we are working has put us in a position where our estimates and guesstimates are not nearly as reliable or accurate as they have been historically when we're operating in a more stable environment. Yesterday, I reviewed a project which we had delayed for a couple of years, and I was now ready to move forward with in this environment and was told that I could expect 3 times what we previously had anticipated the cost to be. So we're putting that aside. So I just think that I would encourage you to leave yourself a little room moving forward on estimates and anticipate that whatever you think it is, it's much more likely to be some percentage higher than that until you can really lock things down. At least that's what I'm finding across a range of construction and construction estimates here at the university. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a, oops.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Deborah. I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Costello's comment because the same thing is going on in most industries. The only question I had, first of all, thanks for all the hard work. I'm sorry that the engineering costs came in significantly higher, but I feel like you've done a good job of explaining why that occurred. My concern is more just one sort of technical piece, which is you've only allowed for a 5% contingency, which is sort of below the standard. So do you feel confident that you will be able to come in, or the engineering firm and the associated subs will be able to come in at the appropriate number? And if not, is 5% enough? Because the last thing that I think any of us want to do is come forward, have you come forward on a sort of consistent basis with, we need to reassess this, or we need more time or more money.
So I would be happy to answer that if you don't mind. And that was a very in-depth topic of conversation with Hntb, as well as our own engineering team. And I do have their assurance that we are comfortable at 5% contingency.
Very good. Does that answer your question, Rose?
It does. I'm sorry. I have some lawnmowers in my backyard, so I was trying to keep myself on mute. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. And I would echo that, this is probably, in terms of capital expense, really going to have to be examined much more carefully than it has been, because things will take longer and things will cost more than we anticipated when we started this project.
Very good. Commissioner Moore, you had a question?
I did. And Rose, you actually sort of hit it. Thanks so much for all I've heard and all the work that was done by your team, Kevin, Talby, and all. From my perspective, as I mentioned yesterday, Talby, this is a must-do project. It's really not an option. We have to do this project, and we have to be as expedient as possible. But Rose, you hit right on the head for me. I'm wondering, should we build a larger contingency in anticipation of what is very likely to occur? There appears to be some level of deficiency within our engineering structure that fortunately Hntb has greater capacity. So the sort of add-on question to that is there a need to maybe assess ourselves internally and build capacity, if no more than through a relationship, a contractual relationship, or more components with HNTB, because they seem to have a better handle on several areas than we do. Their experience is different. Their experience is broader, of course, but there just seems to be a gap someplace within our structure that might impact us negatively down the road. And maybe we should plan for that, because again, the last thing we want to do is start and stop or have gaps in progress.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Moore, I can tell you that's the conversation that I've had both with Kevin and with Talby moving forward.
Wait a minute,
That
yeah, everything's fine.
and they have assured me that those talks are going to be forthcoming, because I was just as taken back by when the costs come in, as all of yous were, and but I agree with everybody. This is a got to do project, and I think moving forward, Mr. Roach understands that we need to have better in-house accountability when it comes to something like this. Any other questions for the team?
This is Commissioner Brown. I apologize. I was off the line the whole time we started the meeting. So I'm back in working order. So I apologize. So a lot of things that were said, I did not hear. I'm just not hearing you, Mr. Simmons. So I apologize.
Okay, are you hearing us now? Okay.
I'm hearing you now. So, but in the beginning, the whole thing I missed out on.
Okay. And what
But
we can.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What we're talking about is the security of the platforms. It's in your packet. And if you want, we can bring you up to speed, or I'm sure there's some other questions that's going to be coming up. And then if you have any, you can ask them there. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any questions for the team? Hearing none, I will ask a few, as usual. Talby, as you and I have talked, the cost that this came in at is, of course, was higher, and a great job by Kevin and the team to back it down a little bit. What does this do as far as our funding partners? The last thing I'm not interested in is having to go back to our partners and saying that we need more money. Can you address that?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I think all of these are very fair critiques, and we need to relook at all of these pricing options. In particular, on the capital side, I think that's absolutely accurate. But we never anticipated the design costs being within the $52 million, and we are not asking for any additional funding from any of the partners. We are using a combination of residual grant funds. As an example, we had some leftover grant monies that we are reallocating associated with safety and security. That is the primary base. But as another example, we may have some grant funding that we were anticipating using for the standard redesign of a camera system. Well, now that camera system will be incorporated within SPP, so it makes sense that we sweep some of those dollars over to cover some of these costs, just as an example. So in that connection, I did meet with Tammy Fulbright, our CFO, and you can see within your packet an assurance from her that even though we did come in a little higher, that this is affordable within our existing financial capacity. We are not asking for any additional funding, but we are asking for your consideration as a board.
Very good. And this is for Kevin. Kevin, you were said earlier that when you were asked to be the project manager on this by Mr. Roach, you had taken it to heart and kind of set your own timetable. And I think if my notes are correct, you told us you would be back here on August 11th with a proposal. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. The most important thing to me was making sure that we got back with a sound proposal so that we could move this forward. This decision, Chairman, by the board today is the most important decision that we can make. We can't do anything without design engineers in place. So This is where we are, and I will continue to hit these deadlines. We are going to get this project done.
And speaking of deadlines, and as you heard it mentioned earlier, that we need to be kind of cautious of setting goals. So if the commissioners approve this today, what would be your inside the ballpark, as we discussed, completion of the design phase of this phase?
So the scope allows for 12 months, and that's certainly the target. But I will tell you, and I'm not going to kid you, this is a very complicated project, and we will run into some difficulties. We may have some delays and may have to traverse some very difficult dynamics and come up with some solutions. So I don't know what those will be at this point, but I certainly am going to continue to shoot for the 12-month design period without question.
Very good. And one other question, when this project starts after the design phase and we get into the construction phase of it, and I'm thinking ahead here, what is your plan as far as how this will roll out? I know we briefly talked the other day about not waiting until everything is completed and flip the switch and everything's all done. Is that still kind of your goal?
Yeah, for those of you that know me, I'm very type A, and I want to make sure that we roll this process out in a phasal concept, meaning people need to see these structures going in. We are also obviously maneuvering through new fare technology and fare collection programs here that will marry into the overall SPP concept. But my goal is to phase construction so that we can staff these gates if we need to prior to fare integration and connectivity. We cannot, building this entire thing and then flipping a switch at the end of the day is not an option.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I think our ridership, the public needs to see. We've been talking about this, and I think all the commissioners agree that this is something that we've talked about and it needs to be done, and we are this close to now doing it today. And with that being said, I would just ask that the commissioners consider supporting this project, even though our cost estimate came in higher, but thanks to Kevin and the team of getting it back down, we're saving a little bit on that influx there. So I just think we have to continue to keep moving forward, and that's I just think we need to do that. So if there's no other question, or is there any other questions?
I just want to say I support this project wholeheartedly. For 20 years, I've only been on the board 2.5. It's time is right, and I support it wholeheartedly, and I have no qualms about the price. As the two commissioners representing universities just stated, and what I've seen in the public sector in the past few years as a consultant, it's the sign of the times of supply chain and everything else. It's the construction costs that we face, and same thing with design. So I support it regardless of the cost, to be honest.
Thank you, Commissioner Beach. I appreciate those comments and your expertise. Any other questions or comments before I call for a motion on this? If not, I will entertain a motion approving the request put forth by our team of Kevin and Mr. Roach and Tom. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Meyer, can you do a roll call?
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Gladney,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Pistello,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Windmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Very good. Thanks, everybody, for that support. And I'm sure that as we move forward, Kevin will continue to lead us into the future with this project. With that being done, Toby, there's no need for an executive session. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
Very good. At this time,
I apologize. I'm sorry. We do have the audit.
Oh, yes.
The special audit. I apologize. I was excited with the unanimous vote, so please bear with me, Chair. So
Okay.
Thank you for that, but we do need to move into executive session for the audit.
Very good. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the board to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing legal, confidential, or privileged matters as permitted under by State Development Board Policy, Chapter 10, Section 10.080, D1 legal, D3 personal, D5 employee negotiations, and D10 auditors. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a roll call.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Gladney,
Yes.
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you. See you in a minute. Very good. Thank you. Let the record reflect we are reconvening the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners on Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve the draft procurement card program audit report resolution number 1218 as presented?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Gladney.
Aye.
The motion passed.
Very good. Thank you. If there's no further business, I would request a motion to adjourn the special meeting.
So
Have
moved.
have a motion, have a second,
Second.
and a roll call, please.
A voice vote is sufficient.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, ayes have it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate all the support. Everybody have a good day.
You too.
Everybody.
I'll call the meeting of the Safety and Security Committee meeting to order on Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Winmiller, Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Brown,
Yeah.
Commissioner Costello, Commissioner Beach,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Gladney.
Are we ready?
Do we have
Yes,
a
we may
quorum?
proceed.
Yeah, okay, we do have a quorum, okay. Ed Meyer, is there any speaker cards submitted?
Yes, we received one speaker card. It was submitted by Matthew Inman regarding the July 26 Metro service disruptions and lack of preparedness. He states, I'm a student at Washington University and I'm a frequent user of Metro as a means for me to commute to work, run errands, and to overall get around town without a car. I wanted to share some of the comments and suggestions with you that involved Metro service during the recent flash floods on the morning of July 26, 2022. As a student with no access to a personal vehicle, I have relied on Metrolink as a means to get to and from work each day this summer. I've rode with Metrolink enough to know that when it rains, the train is delayed, but I was shocked when I checked the transit app to see an alert that delays of up to 2 hours or more were occurring. Knowing the devastating impact this could have on my commute, I hurried out the door to walk to Skinker Station. Based on the alert on the app and the Metro website, I could tell there were delays, but it was unclear if the train was still running. If so, between where or, if shuttles were in service. Ultimately, I decided that I would be able to gather more information at the station. Surely, if the train was no longer serving the station or the station was closed, there would be a sign to that effect with instructions on where to find the shuttle stop. I was wrong. And one comment I have is concerning Metro's lackluster planning and crisis management during the events of July 26. Metro rider alerts, when they are issued at all, are often confusing and contradictory. The alert on the website and app did not immediately tell me if the train was running or if the station was closed. And when I got to the station, the PA system was giving contradictory announcements. The automated PA system was notifying passengers of the delay, but not clearly telling those waiting that the train was not serving the station. I attempted to call Metro Transit's information line for clarification if the station was open. And while I did get an answer eventually, I was hung up on or otherwise disconnected several times in the process. This leads me to another issue about Metro's preparedness for large-scale Metrolink service disruptions like this. The lack of easy-to-find information, wayfinding signage on Metrolink shuttle stops. There is no information on the platform, nor was any sign posted about the overall location of the Metrolink shuttle stops locations. While I was easily able to find the sign that indicated the westbound Metrolink shuttle, I was unable and still have yet to find or receive a straight answer on where the eastbound Metrolink shuttle stop is for the Skinker station. It seems that Metro hopes for people to aimlessly wander around in a blind attempt to find a sign, which is a prime example of poor planning and underpreparedness. Furthermore, I have yet to ride a designated Blue Line shuttle to or from Skinker and the Central West End. In my vain attempt to wait and hope the shuttle eventually shows up, there have always been other bus paratransit operators that have stopped and offered me a ride. I understand that a weather event on the scale of what happened on July 26 may be beyond the design basis for much of the Metrolink system. However, I encourage Metro and Bi-State to take the lessons from this event to heart to better prepare for any future large-scale disruptions. This concludes the public comments.
Very good, thank you. This time, I need approval of the minutes of the May 5th, 2022 Safety and Security Open Meeting. If there's no corrections to be made, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
You need a roll call.
A voice vote is sufficient.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, ayes have it. Next is the task force quarterly report. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I just wanted to maybe take a different approach as we release our quarterly incident numbers on Metrolink, as opposed to just sending these out to the board through Mr. Roach's office. I would like to set a format where when we release these, we do it at a safety and security committee meeting to answer any questions or highlight any major changes or fluctuations in the numbers. So obviously we have 3 major police contracts on the alignment: St. Louis County, the city of St. Louis, and St. Clair County, Illinois. And we have these numbers that we generate on a 3-month basis, on a calendar quarterly basis, come from the law enforcement folks themselves. So the first page included on the report is a overall summation page of the police task force. And then it is broken down by jurisdiction. I would like to go over a couple of things with you. I think this is an opportunity to again stress and compliment the men and women who work here on a daily basis, who go out every day and every evening, engage our customer base, are there, are visible, are addressing issues, are working in concert with law enforcement, because they have made a substantial change over the last 3 years in what we deal with on MetroLink on a daily basis. So just to give you an idea, in second quarter of this year, we only realized in the 3-month period 177 incidents total. This is all while MetroLink boardings increased 26% over Q2 of 2021. So as you know, what we continue to watch is as ridership goes up, where does the rates of incidents go? What type of incidents do we deal with? We have a very systematic approach to how we deploy security. It is a very data-driven process where we position to ensure that we're having the most return on our investment as far as our security assets go. Where are they making the most impact? So there is just a breakdown on the summary page of that 177 total incidents. I think what is telling is that the majority of the incidents, 71%, were self-initiated by proactive law enforcement engagement, meaning we didn't realize a call for service to public safety dispatch or law enforcement, where law enforcement or security had to respond while on the system or on the platforms and engaging ridership. Law enforcement ran across or discovered things on their own, which is a very telling number. Now, when you have a very proactive stance, a very proactive security and law enforcement stance, that will ultimately affect your overall incident rate numbers or your totals. And so that's why we've taken an opportunity to really break this down for you. So I think that the report is very easy to read, and then it goes into a summation by platform in each of the given jurisdictions. You'll notice that at North Hanley and also at Fairview Heights, those incident numbers are higher. That is because we have taken a very proactive posture with the St. Louis County Police at North Hanley, as well as St. Clair County Sheriff's Department at Fairview Heights. So on the last page of our layout, we also have some definitions in regards to what offense types are, and then also a definition to clarify what proactive policing is. So I hope that you find this informative. I hope that you're as intrigued by the numbers that we're seeing as I am, and we look forward to continuing this trend in quarter 3 of this year as well. So thank you for the time.
Anybody have any questions for Kevin on his report? Kevin, just a couple of things. Can you give the committee if you have one, I know we've talked update on the dispatch project. That's
so
something that's.
Yes, sir. So I've been in continuous discussions with Captain Morrow from St. Louis County. He is obviously new to the unit. I can also tell you that the current leadership of St. Louis County is relatively new. As you've seen, they've had some adjustments in their overall leadership within the police department. We are working to establish and fulfill the obligation for the 90-day pilot that we committed to. I think it's also fair to say through our FTA triennial audit, the intercollaboration radio communication between the police departments was highlighted as a weakness and was a finding that we have to address. So I have to provide by state safety oversight with a corrective action plan. And I think what is missing here, at least in some respects, is our partners do not understand the regulatory oversight that we are under and the benchmarks or the levels that we obviously have to achieve. So we have been very focused on identifying why this needs to get done and why it needs to get done expeditiously. And those discussions between myself and Captain Morrow have been very well received, and I know he's working to try to come up with a solution. We won't know what works and what doesn't work until we run the 90-day pilot that everybody's agreed to run. So that's what we're going to accomplish. We have to run this pilot. Speculating on what may work or what may not work, we don't know at this point. But I am very, very enthusiastic that we will get that pilot up and running.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that we at St. Clair County have done everything we could, and I know Captain Morrow has. We've been playing phone tag. He'd asked for some updates on how that 90-day pilot program first came about, and so we will get caught up with him. And I know you've brought him up to speed on it also. So I just wanted the committee to know that we are still working on that. And the other project is the cameras that we are putting in at the PSAP centers here in the county. I don't know if you've had an update on that. I think we're real close to getting that all done.
Yeah, I understand that there's been a reconfiguration of some responsibilities and positioning people with expertise to help try to address some of the issues that we've run into. So I'm very hopeful. Everything that I'm hearing out of that team is very positive. I'm very hopeful that we will be able to solidify that.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that that's going to be done here, hopefully as early as next week. I think they were waiting for some software that they told me as recently as yesterday could be in as early as tomorrow. And then once they get it configured, we could be up and testing that. And for the committee members, that's the project that we are going to be able to monitor the cameras at the platforms and the parking lots from our 911 centers here in St. Clair County. And Kevin, correct me, and that's the only place that we have going to have that at the current time is here in Illinois, right?
That is true. If I could complement what you just said by stressing how important this is. I can't state enough or overstate the concept of security force multiplication. And I know force is somewhat of a militaristic term, but in the context of security, those are things that you can do in your overall security structure that complement your human beings. You can only have so many beating hearts out there, okay? And being able to influx live viewing capability into the public safety answering points of the law enforcement agencies is a huge achievement. The more eyes you have on the system, the more responsive you can be. And this will complement, and this is a very timely discussion because as you so graciously approved our SPP effort this morning, that includes the build out of a real-time camera center here at our central facility, which will support and complement what we're trying to do at each of the police PSAPs. So every day with these very cumbersome, sometimes complicated projects, we are making the system safer.
Well, and I want to just say, St. Clair County Transit District jumped on board to help put this all together. And like I said, to be able to have those extra eyes of those telecommunicators that are sitting in those 911 answering points, they will be able to monitor, like I said, those platforms, or if one of our security officers that are out there maybe is looking for somebody that's created one of those bad choices that they made, they'll be able to sit there and maybe see them getting off of a train or see them getting in a vehicle. Or so I think it's, as you said, it's just extra eyes is going to be out there. And then I think once we get that up in place and we let the public know that security is even being enhanced more by that, I think it's going to be a positive for us. So I appreciate all your help on that also. Any questions for Kevin on anything else that he gave? If not, unscheduled business, Mr. Roach, you have any?
I have no unscheduled business, and I just two quick things. One is I've gotten some text just to note on a subcommittee. We do not require the quorum. We just require members to move forward on a subcommittee. I've confirmed that both with council and with Myra. So there were just a couple questions for point of clarification. And I have no report, except I do want to ask Chuck Stewart to just comment very briefly on the public comment that we got, Chair, if you would allow.
Yes, please, Mr. Stewart.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just want you to know that we have responded to Mr. Inman, and I am happy to share that response should you like to see it. Mr. Inman represents a very important constituency for us, a student at Washington University. He experienced the worst of the crisis. All of the things that he has outlined in his comments, they probably happened, but I can guarantee you that we were right behind him fixing those things as they were occurring. We experienced a crisis, a historic rainfall, flooding, significant damage to transit assets and facilities all at the same time. And I want to actually congratulate my team, the entire bi-state team, on their reaction to this. We were back, we had services restored. We were considering the services that we can provide now and what we'll provide in the future. We were considering Washington U and their students foremost in this process. But we did an excellent job, I think, of pulling things back together. And it's not just the operators, it's not just transit, it's communications, it's security, it's safety, and most of all, it was the many, many volunteers from the other departments, divisions of our company that came together to help us through this crisis. So we are very sorry for what Mr. Inman experienced, but we learned a lot, and we are more than capable of moving forward and seeing that these things do not happen again. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
And Chuck, on those type of comment cards that come in, does somebody actually respond to them
Absolutely.
in writing, or how do they do that? Do they call
No,
them, or how do they?
So Mr. Inman sent us an email, and we responded with an email, and I'd be pleased to share that with you if you'd like to see that.
If you could, I would, and I'm sure you did, but I would like to know that if these citizens are taking time to bring those type of things to our attention, I want them to know that the commissioners take them real serious also. And so I'd like to, if you didn't moving forward, I'd like to make sure that it's in there that, you know, the commissioners do take it serious, and we're going to do our best to alleviate or minimize those type of issues for unforeseen what Mother Nature brings to us, you know.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Any questions for Mr. Stewart? If not, Chuck, I just want to thank you for what you're doing. We've had numerous calls on other issues, and I always appreciate your professionalism and time that you're putting in. As I told you yesterday, just don't get burned out on us.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Toby, did you have anything else?
No, Chair.
Very good. Myra, can we talk about future meeting dates?
Yes, there will be a meeting of the Operations Committee held on Friday, August 19th at 8:30 a.m., immediately following a meeting of the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee. We also have a Board of Commissioners meeting that will be held on Friday, September 23rd, also at 8:30 a.m.
Very good, thank you. And since there is no executive session scheduled, and if there's no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Is that okay, Myra?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, oppose. Ayes have it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.